It ain't about whether Travis Hunter can play. It ain't about whether Travis Hunter can play two positions. It's about whether Travis Hunter playing two positions would lead to a championship. We'll talk about that more here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You got that right. It's your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. And just a quick reminder that today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay tuned for the Armada Player of the Week later in the show. We are free to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you check us out. I don't care where you get them, man, whether you watch them or listen to them. We will be right there. I got Julian Council with me on Monday, as usual, host of the Locked On Panthers podcast and one of my good friends on the network. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to end up talking about whether the Colts draft blunder from years ago, maybe like 30 years ago. Have fun with that. But we'll talk about whether they're making another mistake again by not taking a quarterback that drew the ire of one young Mel Kiper. We'll talk about that. Also, two other teams that made big draft blunders. Well, not blunders, but they made the news that would have broke the internet. The Giants with the Eli Manning trade. Oh, that would have tore the internet apart. And, of course, the Packers and how we wouldn't want to go back right now and see Aaron Rodgers sitting in that green room until like 11 o'clock at night, wouldn't we? We'll talk about both of those teams' draft prospects this year and have a little fun with those three moments that would have broken the internet. But first, we're going to start with Travis Hunter. I don't think Julian Council – Travis Hunter should be questioned about whether or not he can play wide receiver. I've comped him to Ocho Cinco. And I've even gone as far as to say he could be Champ Bailey like at DB. My question is not can he play both sides, but if he's allowed to play both sides, will that be a problem? Or more importantly, is there some old school coach that's going to sit there and frown the whole time that he's sitting there playing both sides, and that in and of itself will cause chemistry problems with the team?
Well, it's a possibility down the road. It does appear that Cleveland is going to be the team that selects him second overall, and they've already come out, their general manager, and said that they will allow Travis to play both sides of the ball. Travis also came out and said if he can't play wide receiver and corner, he doesn't want to play football at all. Now, of course, he wouldn't actually do that. I mean, that's a 21-year-old kid saying, I don't want to play if I can't play at both sides of the ball, but he wants to have the opportunity. And it sounds like Andrew Berry and Cleveland are going to allow him to do that. And Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, will allow him to do that if it does come to fruition on Thursday night that he is a Cleveland Brown. And I'm excited to see it happen. I am very curious just how the split will be, because there's no way it's going to be like it was at Colorado where, again, he played at altitude. He was playing all those snaps offensively and defensively. They played far less snaps in the NFL with the constant running clock and just the pace of the game. So I am very curious to see how it works out. But it's going to be one of those big questions that we're going to be monitoring all offseason long once he gets to OTAs and once, of course, training camp begins.
Yeah, we will. And I agree with you, man. It seems like Barry up there in Cleveland, if there was a match made in heaven, this is the one, man. I'm telling you, there's a few of them, like Kenneth Grant going to Pittsburgh. I keep seeing all of these same people going to these certain teams. But of course, up top, Travis Hunter is a no-brainer. I'll give you my spill on it in just a second, but let's listen to my man Spencer German from Locked On Browns.
Andrew Berry essentially handed in the card for Travis Hunter on Thursday, but is he bluffing? I have 2 minutes. It feels like a long time. 2 minutes of audio of Andrew Berry gushing about Travis Hunter. So when you drop words like unicorn and you compare him to Shohei Ohtani, who's arguably the best player in baseball, maybe even the best player of all time, there have been Babe Ruth comps made with Shohei Ohtani. It's hard not to think that the Browns love this guy and that they're infatuated with this guy and that they really want him at the number 2 overall pick. Now, could it be a smokescreen? And there's a lot of other things to sort of dissect from what he said, the playing two ways thing, how they're not going to cap him on that. They probably will give it a shot. He brings up a good point about on the perimeter, less contact than if you're playing like linebacker and trying to play both ways and play something on offense. So there's some truth in that. He did make it clear yet again that they view him more as a receiver. And so he's making it pretty obvious if they take Travis Hunter, where they're going to use him first and foremost. and they'll figure out the rest later when it comes to getting him in on defense, which he does want to do, as we talked about. So, listen, I think all those things make sense. But in terms of like, why is he being so transparent? Why is he being so candid about how he feels about Travis Hunter, how they feel as a team about Travis Hunter? I understand where at this late in the process, we've heard so many different things, so many conflicting reports, so many, it's this guy, it's that guy, where people would be maybe trying to go galaxy brain and think like this has to have a deeper meaning at this point, right? Like we're a week out from the draft.
Listen to me, Julian. There's some things that the Sanders group has done, and it's worked to their advantage a little bit. It's like anything that you say that is contrary to what they believe that they can accomplish, they call you a hater. And people folks call you haters. Oh, yeah, you're hating wild. Hate. It's not hate, dog. You know what it is for me? It's like this. It's great. Not hate, but it's great. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I have learned my whole life, whether it's me watching guys that I played against in high school that are like the best in the city, and then they get to college and they ride the bench. And me seeing kids that I thought were going to the league and them not making it because, the old thing I go back to saying, The Rock got cut. Goldberg got cut. Suge Knight got cut. All these guys that got cut, Batista, all these dudes that couldn't cut it in the National Football League. It's not hate. It's just that I believe the league is that great. It is so great that no matter how good you are, you ain't going to be able to play both ways constantly and be at your absolute best because I believe y'all are that great. So that's not hate.
Yeah, and it's not like he's the biggest guy in the world. Travis Hunter is like, I think when he came out of like high school, when he was number 1 overall player, he was only like 165 or something like pound wise.
Right.
So I don't know what he's at right now. Obviously, he's gotten bigger, faster, stronger in his 3 seasons in college too, or 1 at Jackson State, the last 2 at Colorado. I guess. I mean, you're right. I remember there's a Richard Sherman thing that was going on last fall, and Richard Sherman was talking about him being able to play both ways and thinking that, okay, he's a good receiver, but he thinks he can really be excellent at corner. And there was some misinterpretation from Travis Hunter with that situation, but they were able to at least talk it out. Where there's sometimes where guys say, oh, no, he's a hater. He won't talk. I mean, Richard Sherman, arguably a Hall of Famer. So I think Travis Hunter, who has yet to play a snap in the NFL, should not be sitting here and feel disrespected by a guy of Richard Sherman's status from what he was able to do during his pro career. Again, Travis has yet to get to the NFL, has yet to accomplish anything at this level, so we cannot crown him, even though I am very excited to see what he can do, and do think if he can stay healthy, which is a big part of this. And if you play both sides, that is going to add the risk to you getting injured. And I look at the NFL, and I've always never understood, like, why the hell does Christian McCaffrey, who is a great punt returner in college, not return punts? Like, why is that, like, guys like Tyreek Hill doesn't do it anymore? Is it because they don't want to risk them getting injured? Like, that's just one more snap they play and one more opportunity for something bad to happen. So that's what I think it's going to boil down to, is like Cleveland, whoever ends up having him, they're going to have to figure out, like, do they want to have that risk of him playing more snaps than maybe necessary? And will he be able to be happy about that? He's going to have to accept the role because he's coming in. It's going to be his job. It's going to be a contract. He can't leave and do whatever he wants, like a lot of these college players now do, because they don't have binding contracts. Like, once he gets to the organization, gets to the NFL, they're going to tell him what they wanted to do. And he's going to be like, yeah, I'm a team guy. Yes, sir. Or no, sir, whatever it's going to be. And he's going to go out there and do it. So I hope he gets the opportunity just early on in his career, but like longevity, there's just no way that he can be. I mean, I guess there's a way, but it just seems hard to imagine that he'll be able to do this full time for like a decade plus if he does play that long in the NFL.
And I'm not going to sit here and be a snob because I'm in SEC country, because the team I support is in the ACC, right? But I will tell you this. Travis Hunter, even though he's been the best high school player when he was 15, he was the best high school player in the country. When he was a junior, he was the best player I saw out of all of them. So there's no question to me that if he had gone to Alabama or Ohio State, that he would have been dominant and been a Heisman Trophy, probably would have won the Heisman anyway. I don't doubt that 1 minute. But what I will tell you is this. He ain't line up playing Jeremiah Smith one play and then have to go line up and play offense against Ohio State. He ain't line up playing against Georgia's defense and then have to go line up and play against Georgia's offense.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen him in the SEC or in a conference where week after week, And I'm not saying he wouldn't have been able to do it, but what I'm telling you is this: it would have given you a closer glimpse. And there are a lot of good players in the Big 12. We're looking at a bunch of them about to get drafted right now.
Yeah.
The Iowa State and TCU are loaded with wide receivers. So I'm not saying that he didn't go up against anybody. But what I'm telling you is it would have been more like what he is going to see on a weekly level. Now, just think about it. I just said he got to guard Jeremiah Smith one week, and then that Williams kid at Alabama the next week. This is what it's like, okay, in the National Football League. One week it's A.J. Brown. The next week is Jamar Chase. And then you go up and you think that you're just going to go out here and line up against Drake London. And, okay, he ain't as big a name. No, he'll kill you too, and he's 6'5".
Yeah.
Every single week, this is what's going to happen. And then he's going to play wide receiver, and he's going to have to play against Pat Surtain. And it's like, so you think you're going to be able to do Pat Surtain and Cortland Sutton in the same game and be as good as you hope you can? I don't think so, man. I just believe those dudes in the league are just too good. This ain't about
and like you would even love to have seen, like you look at Texas, like had he been in the SEC, like, all right, you're playing offensively, you're going up against Jahdae Barron, who's considered a first-round corner. And then you're looking at defensively, you're having to defend Matthew Golden, who's considered a first-round receiver.
Unreal.
Like, you would have loved to have been able to see in that situation. And like at those bigger schools, like at Georgia, like in Ohio State, like those guys are just too talented to where he probably doesn't get the opportunity to do it both ways. Like you look at Colorado, like they had to have him play all those snaps just in order to be competitive. I mean, receiver-wise, they probably didn't need him because they do have good receivers, but he was their best one. But like corner-wise, like they needed Travis because that took away like one side of the field. Like they needed that to happen for a defense that really wasn't all that great.
And I'm going to tell you what these old dudes in the NFL will do. You know what they'll do? And Deion knows this better than anybody. They will sit here and say, oh, he just played offense. Run a toss sweep to Derrick Henry. Lamar, run an option to that side.
Yeah.
Make him play.
Down.
Make him play it. I'm telling you, that's what they're going to do to him. And this is the thing that it's not whether he can, it's whether if he should play equal amounts of snaps on both sides. All right, man, let's get to a little bit of humor involving the Giants, the Packers, and eventually the Colts. I'll tell you what that means in just a second here as we get closer and closer to the draft here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Amazon Fire TV and Locked On. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops, and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, third generation. All right, we're moving along here on Locked On NFL, talking about the NFL draft as we get closer. And I thought about things that would have broken the internet if coverage would have been the way it is right now. And one of the first things I thought about, I don't know where you were, Julie. I don't know how old you were. I ain't trying to date you. I thought about not date you. You know what I mean. I'm dating you. Like
I know. I'm 32. I understand.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking about is Eli Manning saying, I ain't playing at San Diego. I think I don't know anything else that would have broken the internet the way that would have broken the internet. Where were you, and what do you remember about that day, Julian?
That was 2004 because his last year at Ole Miss was 2003. So I would have been 11 years old, and I can promise you I was not watching the draft.
Yeah. I know you should have been outside playing bikes. I don't
Yeah.
know why kids don't ride bikes no more than that. But still, one thing I will tell you, it would have broken the internet. Now we still got the Giants sitting here looking like, what are we going to do in the draft? Everybody thinks I said Washington, then I said New England. Some people said Cleveland, and some people said the Giants. Like, this is where the draft, or even the Raiders with the running back. Like, everybody thinks this is where the draft takes a turn. Here's Patricia Traynor from the New York Giants.
What NFL team could potentially thwart the New York Giants' draft plans? Folks, the answer is simple. The Cleveland Browns. Okay, now why might the Cleveland Browns be the fly in the ointment for the Giants? Let's take a look at this now. Both teams need a franchise quarterback of the future. All right, the Giants, they have a temporary solution with Russell Wilson, with Jameis Winston. The Browns, they have temporary solutions with Kenny Pickett, and they re-signed Joe Flacco. So both teams kind of have identical situations as far as their quarterback goes. So that said, both teams draft within one spot of each other. So the Browns, as we know, they're drafting second. The Giants are drafting third. The Browns will likely take one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. The Giants at 3 will get whoever the Browns don't take. Not a bad, consolation. But here's where it could get a little sticky for the Giants in terms of quarterback of the future. Now, in order to get your quarterback, you're probably going to have to trade back into the bottom of the first round if you want to get one of the better ones to develop. So that being said, the target for both teams, if they want to get a quarterback in this draft, is probably going to be the Denver Broncos, who sit at number 20, one spot ahead of the Steelers, who also need a quarterback, but are in kind of a little different boat than the Giants and the Browns.
So basically what Patricia's saying is neither team will take a quarterback in the top of the first round, that it will be Abdul Carter probably to the Giants left over because Cleveland is going to take Travis Hunter. And then it becomes a race between those two teams, which one trades back up into the second round. I like that philosophy about her because I think that scenario is really realistic.
Yeah, and I do hope that's kind of how it plays out, to where a quarterback like Jackson Dart is not placed with first round expectations, because I do not think he is a truly first round talent. And even Cam Ward last year, I mean, he's probably a day 2 pick, the 7th quarterback taken off the board. Now he's considered the top guy. And that's not to say that Cam Ward didn't get better over the last season down there playing in Shannon Dawson's offense at Miami. Like, he was really good. Now he's got himself in the position to be number 1 overall. Now, is that a good thing? Monetarily, yes. Where you're going, absolutely not. But still, it's a better chance for him to have long-term success. Well, to at least get a chance. Let's not say long-term success, because he's going to a bad organization, but he gets a chance where if you're drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, typically they're not expecting you to be the guy. But like in Jackson Dart's case, all right, a team, they like you. Like, apparently New Orleans really likes Jackson Dart, but they don't like Jackson Dart at 9. They like him more early on in the 2nd round. So if they can trade up and get him, New Orleans can be able to have a player who maybe like an offensive or defensive lineman they get at 9, and then they can have a press conference the next day. It's like, all right, hey, we got Jackson Dart. We think this guy can really help us out. Maybe he has to play this year, just as things are still up in the air at Derek Carr. But if not, we can take him, move him along slowly, and then he can come in, maybe be our starter, maybe our guy of the future down the road. And I kind of hate how that's not how things work out, that every quarterback has to be a first rounder, because you get that 5th-year option. Well, not every one of these guys is gonna be worth the 5th-year option. You don't have to play them right away. Like, look at what Green Bay did. Like, yes, they went out there and got Jordan Love, but they didn't give him the 5th-year option. They let him sit. They reworked it to make sure the deal would work out for him. He came, he played, and now look what he's doing. Like, why can't that be the norm, to where, oh, we'll take a guy in the 2nd round who we think is good, but we don't think he's a first-round pick, that there's a better player, a better position that we should be trying to attack in the 1st round. I just don't really understand why that can't be common practice in the NFL. And it's always about reaching and grabbing these quarterbacks, like with Pittsburgh a couple years ago. Like Kenny Pickett, not a first-round talent. Like, why do they I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's just one thing that just kind of boggles my mind. Like, a quarterback has to be a first rounder in order for them to get like a true opportunity to be the franchise.
Yeah, and then the other thing about that is this: so many teams say, "Well, he's not a first rounder. I wouldn't take him." but I'll gamble a second round pick on him. And I know that's because of the value of the position, but this is like this. Dude, I don't care how valuable the position is. If you don't think he's going to be good, he might not be good.
Right. Like, do you believe in him or not?
Yeah, do you believe in him or not? I'll tell you where Green Bay learned that from. They did it with Jordan Love because they did it with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, they took a quarterback when they didn't need one, and now they're sitting there saying, well, we need to get the quarterback we have. You mentioned him, Jordan Love, some wide receiver help, and Peter Bukowski is going to tell you exactly. By the way, before I mention them, I got to mention this. Remember Aaron Rodgers sitting around in the green room and we all felt sorry for him? Remember that? He's acting like we all didn't feel sorry for him, and he's got everybody sitting around here waiting for his ass right now. No, we felt sorry for you, dude. Don't act like we all did this to you, and now you're getting some revenge on the NFL. Okay, I got that off. Here's Peter Bukowski with the wide receiver update from Green Bay.
So what if the Packers can't get their preferred players? Well, you got to have backup plans. There is no backup plan for Jaden Higgins because there's no one else really like him in the draft. If they don't get a Jaden Higgins, I don't know that there is another true X receiver in this draft, period. So you got to pivot. And to me, the backup plan in the top 100 is Jalen Royals. We talked about Jalen Royals plenty on the show, a Z receiver. I wish he blocked a little bit harder. I wish he ran routes a little bit harder. But man, all the stuff that he could do in the scheme touch game, you let Jaden Reed be a little bit more natural receiver. You could put Royals in the slot and Reed outside. You could flip them. You could go cheat motion. To have those two guys on the field at the same time would give you such dynamic ability and the speed that you need that you're not getting quite.
All right, there you go. So Bukowski thinks that they need more receiver help. I thought they've been drafting real good at receiver, and maybe they've got a whole bunch of dudes that's okay. Christian Watson can't stay healthy. Is this a case, though, a little bit where maybe Jordan Love ain't as good as we think, and we just going to keep piling receivers up until he proves he is?
I don't think so. I think that if you do have a quarterback of his talent level, why not continue to give him the offensive weapons, especially, I mean, looking at the division that they're in, we'll see what Detroit's offense is going to look like without Ben Johnson as their play caller, but they do still have a very capable quarterback, a good quarterback in Jared Goff now. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have Jamison Williams, who, I mean, does some wild things, but he's a talented player. They have Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, they got David Montgomery. They have Sam Laporta. That's firepower that they have there. Chicago, I mean, we'll see what that ends up being. Minnesota,
they got
the best receiver in the game. Jordan Addison's a good player. We'll see what JJ McCarthy, like, you're going to have to score points in the NFC North. And just the way that, like, the game has evolved, like, you're going to have to score points at the end of the day to win big and win the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's ever a bad thing to, well, one, get an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Like, that's, you know, eat your vegetables, go out there and do those foundational things. But also, like, I don't think it's ever a bad thing to go out there and try to add another potential explosive offensive weapon. So I haven't dove in deep in what the Packers need. But I wouldn't be mad if they added another weapon for Jordan Love. And he certainly, I don't think, would be upset either. Because what was it a couple years ago? Like, when they took Jordan Love, how they was like, oh, the Packers need a receiver. And they didn't do that. Like, they didn't help out their quarterback. Last year with the Falcons, it's like, okay, you got Kirk Cousins, and then they don't help out the team by getting, I mean, I guess they did long-term by getting Michael Penix Jr., but you would have thought they would have tried to invest in the team by maybe getting an edge rusher there. And now, a year later, the Falcons are still needing an edge rusher.
Right. Well, guess what? A team in the last part of this, what we're going to do is show the last team that has a draft history that would have broken the internet, and it's probably number one, and that would be the Colts with, I believe his name was Tobin, going up against Mel Kiper. It was all because they took Trev Alvarez instead of taking a quarterback. Well, guess who still doesn't know they need a quarterback, and they ain't gonna take one? The Colts. We'll discuss them and more here in the third and final segment of Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by the Armada Player of the Week, and it is our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, we're taking a look at our draft prospects to pick one that stands apart. The guy we believe showcased the strength and power needed to push the team forward as we look ahead to next season. That guy for me right now, this week's Armada Clear Cut Player of the Week, is Jalen Walker. I don't want to tell you why Jalen Walker, man, because he has some intangible things. And I know we talk a lot about having things that make you intangibly rich. Well, Jalen Walker makes things better when he's on the field. The leadership, the stoutness against the run, the ability to have the instincts that he plays with. Jalen Walker is the absolute truth. He's heavy duty, he's rugged, and conquers the road or the road ahead of him with capable and confidence. And that's what the Armada does as well. You got to dream big and go big. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what I think Jalen Walker does also. It's clear that our player of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of the outstanding vehicles. Just take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, let's move along here on Locked On NFL with my man Julian Council. The Colts were probably the number one draft moment that would have broken the internet if it was out today. Go back and look at the old Mel Kiper. I believe his name was Tobin. He was the senior vice president or whatever of I think he's passed on too, so God bless him. But he picked Trev Alberts, and I think Trent Dilfer was the quarterback on the board that Mel Kiper thought he should have taken. And boy, oh boy, it was a Cat Williams type tirade that went on between them two. So that's my number one, would have broken the internet moment for the NFL draft. I don't think we're going to have nothing like that go down. But I will tell you this, Julian, those boys up in Indy don't think that they need – I don't know if they think they need a quarterback, but they got Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco. They should be in line, if you will, for Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or whoever, because right now I don't think they have the answer behind center.
Well, Flacco's actually back in Cleveland. They got Daniel. Yeah,
they got Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Which I mean, not really
like I said.
Better.
Like I said.
I mean, same guy, except Daniel is not. I can't imagine he's going to end up being a Super Bowl winner. I suppose there's still hope for him that if he goes out there and he wins the job, which that situation in Indianapolis doesn't make any kind of sense at all to me. I understand like the tapping out and not loving that. Maybe you sit him out for the rest of the game and you teach him a lesson that way, but then to bench them, to put Flacco in there when Flacco does not help you long-term, that you need Richardson to be playing snaps, because what he should have been doing back during the 2023 fall was playing at the University of Florida, but instead he was in the NFL, hurt. But it shouldn't have been the NFL, period. It should have just been waiting, played at Florida, because he probably still is going to be a first-round pick regardless. So I don't know. Maybe last year's draft class would have been. He probably maybe not stacked up, depending on how he would have played that final year. So maybe it was the right decision to go. But still, he's someone who needs to play, and now they're having quarterback competition with a guy who we know can't play. So it's just, what's the point of all of this?
Yeah, and they're sitting up there talking about the draft. My boy from Locked On Colts, they cover it like you can't get it anywhere else, and they're talking about everything except quarterback. Check them out here on Locked On, from Locked On Colts.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think if we're really summing up kind of my thoughts on like positionally, what the Colts want to come out of this draft with, I think they want to address the trenches as early as possible. It could be up in as early as round one, especially on day two, though. Mm-hmm. They certainly need a tight end. They're not being shy about knowing that they need a tight end. So I certainly think that's their biggest target in round one. And then if it's not taken in round one, we'll see that on day two. And then I think when we get to day three, we're looking at those skill positions. You know, we're looking at corner, safety, linebacker. I think linebacker is a good round four option for this team. And then quarterback will be somewhere there on day three as well. But yeah, I expect, again, an unsexy draft outside of maybe like the tight end at the top of the board, but a lot of trenches on day two, which will be fun for me. I don't know how fun it'll be for like the fantasy football people watching or anything, but I love me a good defensive lineman and offensive lineman. Hopefully they can fill a role and be pretty good.
I feel bad for him, man, because I heard it in his voice. I love infrastructure, but at some point we got to get beyond just building these streets and these roads, man. We got to get something that is box office. And he said the word unsexy. That is exactly what the Colts organization seems like it is to everybody outside of Indianapolis.
Yeah, right now. And you got to go back to Andrew Luck retiring. Hey, if Andrew Luck does not retire early, maybe he's still playing football, and the Colts are not in a situation where they've been constantly trying to find a quarterback since him. Like Jacoby Brissett had to start that season, and then you look and saw Phillip Rivers worked out for that year. Then he retired. Then they brought in Carson Wentz. That was a disaster. Matt Ryan, that was a disaster. Frank Reich gets fired. Then they go and get Anthony Richardson, and he gets injured. And then last year, pretty much a disaster. And here we sit heading into this draft where they still have not figured it out. So, I mean, I feel for Colts fans. I don't know how much I feel for Jim Irsay per se, but like it is not the rhyme. But I do feel for the Colts fans out there. And
Irsay per se. Irsay per se.
I mean, the thing to do in these drafts, like you're building a team. It's not all about like, oh, we got a quarterback or we got a receiver. Like those are things that like provide fan bases hope. Man, I've seen too often where you can't block and you can't win. Like you can't stop the run. And you can't win. Like those, like building on the lines of scrimmage, like it's not sexy as he said, but it is important. But yeah, until a quarterback emerges, that will limit the ceiling of the Indianapolis Colts. They are at least in a division. No offense, where like there's still a window of opportunity. I mean, Houston's still the best team, but there's like it's not like they're going to be facing an unsurmountable like object, which is Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Like CJ Stroud, good player. But if you build a good enough team, they could certainly be able to do that. But they need to have a good enough quarterback too, which, as we know right now, is still very much up in the air.
It is very much in the air. You're absolutely right. And shout out to you. You ain't have to mention Trevor Lawrence right there. I feel you, man. I wouldn't
didn't say his name.
Yeah, I wouldn't mention him at this point either, man. It's all good, no problem. All right. Hey man, we appreciate you looking at Locked On NFL and making it your first listen. For your second listen, the Locked On NFL Mock Draft is now available on Locked On NFL Draft. Go inside the Locked On War Room for all 32 picks in this ultimate 7-episode series, the Locked On NFL Mock Draft. Available now on Locked On NFL Drafts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Man, make sure y'all tap in. We worked real hard on that and did a really, really good job with it. I don't know if there were many trades. I know I didn't trade out. I sat there at number 5 and made my pick. And you have to see what Julian did with the Carolina Panthers. I think you stayed at 8. You didn't move, did you?
Yeah, I stayed at 8. Just like I think they're going to be staying at 8 because everyone wants to trade up.
Yeah, we're going to look for the drama this year. Hopefully we get something else that can go on the Mount Rushmore of NFL drama, and we'll be talking about it next Monday, you and I. But at least when I see you again, Julian, the teams they will have made their draft choices, and we'll have some fresh stuff to talk about. You guys on Locked On NFL, make sure you check out Julian at Locked On Panthers and me at Locked On Jaguars. We appreciate you spending 32 minutes with us today. We'll see you next time.